I can leave stage and backstage. So the vents went to both the stage and the backstage area. Is that what he means? Hey, he's right. Look, Apollo. Huh, yeah. But how did he know it was connected like that? Wait, I bet his father was the architect that designed the hall or something. I hear this from Magician. Magician? Don't look at me. A magician, huh? Valent. Well, at least we're clear on one thing. Marchie didn't shoot Mr. Latouze. Yeah, but what does that leave us with? We're supposed to say he went into the room to find the body and then he heard the shots? That one's going to go over well in court. Not. Apollo, you're his defense. You're supposed to believe whatever he says, even lies. That's what Daddy always told me. I'll just pretend you misheard him. Every time. So, what do we do? You're sure you won't testify, Marchie? No talking. No. Well, it was worth a shot. That cocoon. I wonder if he'll tell us about it. I can't go home. Can't go home? Oh, there's a pair of scissors. Yeah. I can't go home to Virginia. I do not want to go home. The penalty for taking a cocoon from Virginia is death. That's right, it's punishable by death. Did you smuggle it? Of course. He's scared. Oh well, I guess we'll just have to try a different approach. That's the spirit, Apollo. So, what's your plan? If Marchie won't testify about it, we'll have to get someone else to testify. Someone else? I think we're out of time. Let's get back in there. Right. Right, okay. Court is now back in session. Mr. Justice, have you sorted things out with the defendant? Yes, Your Honour. We had a good talk. Very well. So, will he testify? Your Honour, the defendant will not testify. What? Shame. And here I thought this was your big chance to turn the case around. Actually, it is. The defense would like to approach this case from a different angle, Your Honour. A different angle? If Marchie won't testify, then I know who will. I would like to cross-examine the witness in this case, Lammy. Lammy? Of course he'd object. What are you up to now? I thought we determined yesterday that Lammy's testimony was insubstantial. There's nothing you can... Lammy was taken to the hospital yesterday with injuries. What happened? She was assaulted, Your Honour. Assaulted? Someone wanted Lammy dead. Thankfully, she was able to save herself. What? I've heard no such report. Prosecutor Gavin? Why would anyone be out to kill Lammy? Can you think of a reason? Well... Think of how she is known in our country. A singer from overseas, who doesn't speak English, yes? Yet someone tried to keep her mouth shut. Who could that have been? You don't think... I do. It was the same person who shot Mr. Latouze. The killer was afraid of her, afraid of what she might say. The defense believed that something was hidden in her testimony yesterday. Something that the killer doesn't want getting out. So am I to understand that this is what you're saying? Namely, that there is a nugget of truth in Lammy's testimony. A nugget we have yet to uncover. Exactly. If Lammy was attacked, this has serious implications. Very well. There were some vague points in her testimony during yesterday's trial. Perhaps we did not inquire as deeply as we might have. Into some. The court will hear Lammy's testimony once more. I don't even know if it's the same... Will it be the same testimony? I'm assuming so. Lammy, I must apologise. We must ask you to stand again and speak. You need not apologise. I know that Marchie is innocent, and I will do all that I can until the court realises this. Let's review your testimony from yesterday. You told us you heard 2 gunshots and the shooter's voice through the window, and that the voice belonged to Darian Crescent, yes? That is correct. At which point I proved she could not be correct. She couldn't have heard any of those things. The small window at the scene was closed, and was found to be quite soundproof. You have nothing to say to that, Mr. Justice? I don't know exactly what yet, but I do know there's something there. There is, it seems, much you do not know. And yet it is my duty to hear him out. Perhaps the witness would be so kind as to testify once more to the court. Of course, Your Honour. Alrighty. I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. That's when I heard them, Mr. Latouze and the detective. I heard the faint sound of a gunshot and stopped. Then I heard another gunshot. There was the smell of gunpowder. I knew I must tell someone, but I was in a hurry, so I kept moving past the small window. Ugh. Pretty much the same as yesterday's testimony. I am sorry. I'm not used to speaking much in this language. Perhaps my descriptions are lacking in some way. Yet everything I have said here is the truth. And it is my distinct displeasure to say this. What you are said to have happened is impossible. Do I have to repeat myself? Lemmy was attacked because of this testimony. What? Trucy? Apollo, you know, for a moment there, you were pretty cool. Maybe I do better when I don't try to think ahead. Very well, Mr. Justice. Perhaps you can coolly cross-examine the witness. Yeah, I won't count on it. Okay. I can't use my bracelet. Is something wrong? I raised an objection. But she's saying the same thing she said before. Mr. Justice? Sorry, it's nothing. Please continue with your testimony. Now I know what they mean about the reckless youth these days. The one in red over there is a shining example here, Judge. You're the last person who should be pointing fingers, Mr. Rockstar. Okay. Oh, that has actually changed, because in the testimony before, we didn't know it was the detective. Darian Crescent. I did not know his name at the time, but yes, it was him. The one who took the stand yesterday. How many times do I need to remind you that's impossible? There is no way you could have heard him. Because the window at the scene was closed? Is that why? Of course. Apollo, if we keep asking the same questions as yesterday, we won't get anywhere. She's right. Maybe there's a different angle I can try. Ooh. What were they talking about? Lemmy, do you by any chance remember what they were saying to each other? If so, please tell us. I've given it much reflection, but I was afraid of this. She doesn't remember. I only heard one phrase clearly. A whole phrase? You remember something? Something that was said? Why didn't you say anything yesterday? Though my memory is clear, I was afraid to speak. You see, I do not understand what was said. This could be it. The very clue I've been waiting for. Well, what did he say? It was the other man speaking, not Mr. Latouze. The shooter, then. Darian Crescent. Well, what did he say? It's over. Press the switch. Now. Switch? And the shooter said this to the victim, Mr. Latouze? I thought it quite strange myself afterward. It is a mystery. What could it possibly mean? Mr. Justice, care to shed some light on this? I mean, sure, I'd be delighted. It's, very, very vital. Maybe we could add that to the testimony. Maybe, Apollo. It actually is pretty vital. Press the switch now. Okay. So it would be this. Triggers an igniter within 30 feet. 30 feet. There we go. That would be the switch that we're talking about. Press the switch. There's only one key that can unlock the mystery of those words. Oh? Yet there was nothing at the scene that could be called a switch, save the lights. True, there wasn't a switch at the scene. But it just so happens, I have a switch right here. That certainly does look like a switch, doesn't it? The problem is, this was found not at the scene of the crime, but on the stage. The stage? Where the concert was held, yes. This was found hidden there. On the stage. Are you claiming that the voice Lammy heard was of someone commanding another to press the switch? Oh, the headset! Also! Fuck! I never even thought about that! I'm an idiot. Ah, jeez. It's a possibility. Wow. Oh, hair forehead? I'd call that an impossibility. Why? It's hardly necessary for me to remind you... to remind the court of the layout of the concert forum. The stage is quite far from Lammy's dressing room. Not to mention that the Gabiners were in the middle of a concert on said stage. We aren't known for being a quiet band. You could shout all you wanted and not be heard. The detective's voice was loud, but certainly not a shout. So, too, have Hair Forehead's cries of possibility fallen far short of being heard. Sorry. But he wouldn't have needed to shout. Excuse me? You heard what I said. Or, do you need me to shout it out for you? It would have been quite simple to be heard on the stage from that dressing room. Oh wait, you like evidence, don't you? How about this? Using this, it would be easy to get a message to someone on stage from the dressing room. Finally, we have a use for this. Yes, the headset. Prosecutor Gavin, perhaps you're familiar with this. But why that's... What is it? Is that some kind of newfangled phone they invented while I wasn't looking? This is a type of transmitter, a communications device. Communications? Device? From what I've heard, that night, everyone on stage was wearing one of these. Isn't that right, Prosecutor Gavin? Ah, yes. Actually, they're for talking between the band members. We all had one. So you admit that if you were wearing one of these, talking from the backstage to the stage would be simple. True, but wait. Those send out an electronic signal. To avoid interference with the audio systems, their range is quite limited. Lemmy said it was about 30 feet, right? Look at this cross-section diagram of the concert forum. Ah, exactly. The walk from the stage to the backstage seems far, but the direct distance is less than 30 feet. That can't be. So when Lammy heard the shooter's voice, he could have been talking to someone on stage. You're claiming this is the switch in question? Why did it have to be on the stage at the time? It could be placed in a pocket and carried anywhere. Someone could have hit it on the stage after the fact. Hey, he's got a point. How do we know where it was when she heard the voice? When the shooter said press the switch? Well, I guess we don't. An unfortunate situation. I'm afraid that until we know where this switch was, there's little point in debating it. Ugh. I was sure this was the way to go with this. What is this switch, anyway? We don't even know that basic fact. There we go. There's the light bulb. Wait a second. I do know what this switch is. And if you follow that train of logic to its incredible conclusion, it ends up in proof that completely changes this case. What's up, Apollo? Apollo? We know about this switch, right? We know what it is. Yeah? Well, think of when it was used that day. Think of what happened. Well, Mr. Justice? If you have no further information to share concerning this switch... Your Honor? Yes, Mr. Justice? I've been remiss in not telling the court this before. I know what this switch is. Well, it seems the defense is set upon linking this switch to the case. I mean, it's because it is linked. Let's see your evidence of the link. What evidence do you have to explain what this switch is? Also, this is the song that plays on Ace Attorney Investigations when you're connecting logic. I'm pretty sure for both the first and second game, because I don't think they changed it. I thought I recognised it. Right, so what is the switch for? It's for the igniter. Prosecutor Gavin, you remember this? That's that what? Is it another one of those newfangled phones? This is an igniter. What phone looks like this? Igniter? You mean it's a lighter? Oh, it's like a lighter. Yes, actually. You aren't saying this switch is a remote... I am. This is a remote trigger for an igniter. What? Look, I'll show you. Here, put it in a safe place. Mr. Justice, you will cease and desist from burning down this courtroom. Sorry. That was a bit more fire than I'd expected. If my whiskers had caught on fire... Prosecutor Gavin, let me repeat myself. This switch is a remote igniter trigger. Used on your guitar, no less. Doesn't that suggest something to you? You're talking about what happened to me, aren't you? Oh god, hiccups. Exactly. That night at the concert, there was one unusual burst of flame. When your guitar caught fire in the middle of a performance. Wasn't that part of the stage show, though? No. Prosecutor Gavin was entirely unaware such a thing had been planned. And the guitar that kept... Wait, I am not even reading it. The guitar that burned was a valuable keepsake. That's right. He got it in Virginia from Lemmy. He said the sound was amazing, before it burned, of course. Now it just kind of smokes. The better the guitar, the brighter it burns. Her forehead? Yes. Don't tell me you're trying to tie these two things together. Those being the shooter's voice heard by Lemmy, and the guitar suddenly catching on fire. I am. It's really simple when you think about it. Mr. Latouze and the shooter were at the crime scene. The shooter was wearing a headset. He ordered someone on stage to press the switch. The switch was pressed, and the guitar caught fire. Well, that does seem to make sense. There's something about it is bugging me. Can't quite put my finger on it. Really? It seems pretty simple to me. Oh, this is where he's gonna poke a hole in our logic. Her forehead. Don't destroy what little respect I have for you. I was expecting something a little more... sensible. I guess I was wrong. What's this all about, Prosecutor Gavin? His simple story simply makes no sense. Think, that night my guitar caught fire, yes. The cause may have been this indeed. But, however, the guitar caught fire during the second set. That's right, of course. Don't know why I need to show this again. The guitar caught fire during Lemmy's song, so she couldn't have heard them. Indeed, yet the shooter happened during the third set. No, shooting, not shooter. The two are utterly unrelated. Yes, that must have been what was bugging me. The whole premise for this is faulty. See? His story makes no sense. Are you sure about that? What exactly do you mean, Mr. Justice? Maybe it's not the premise for my explanation of the switch that's at fault. Maybe it's our premise for the entire case so far. What premise is this specifically? I'm glad you asked. I'm saying that maybe the killing didn't take place in the third act. Oh. What's this? But Detective Emma Skye heard shots and found the body. I love this fucking song so much. It's my favourite pursuit, because it's just so good. All of this happened in the third act. How do you know that, though? Gunshots rang out, and according to his testimony, Machi was in that dressing room at the time. Where are you going with this, Mr. Justice? Stay with me, Your Honour. He also told us this in his testimony, namely that the victim had already been shot. We all heard gunshots, but no one saw the shooting. This is insane. Just before the shooting took place, the shooter was heard on his headset, telling someone to press the switch. The next moment, Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flame. We know that a remote trigger igniter was inside the guitar. From all these facts, we can draw only one conclusion. The crime did not take place during the third act, but during the ballad performance, the second act. What? How could that have happened, though? Because Machi was on the bloody piano, was he not? But that goes against the evidence. What does, Your Honour? This crime was carried out according to the lyrics of that song, yes? Hey, he's right, look. The bullet is supposed to come after the fire. You're thinking about it the wrong way. Go backwards. If you go backwards. So... yeah. If you did, the bullet would come first, then the fire, and then the keys. Yeah. But then the flying as well. I don't know. I'm gonna hope he's gonna just say, think about it backwards. Look. Why would the shooter craft the events... wait, craft the events of the day to follow the lyrics anyway? It's an awful lot of trouble to go through. With little merit for the person doing it. Well, I'm sure whoever it was had some reason. Yes, they did. A reason that made it advantageous to follow the lyrics. You're saying the order was reversed on purpose? Reversed? Prosecutor Gavin? If the criminal followed the lyrics strictly, then yes. The shooting would have had to come after the guitar burst into flame. Yet Hairforehead has raised another possibility. He's claiming that the bullet came not after, but just before the fire. Couldn't have put it better myself. We were only meant to think that the shooting came after the guitar burst into flame. That was the criminal's objective. The crime followed the lyrics to a point, but that was a ruse. Okay, so it was only backwards at the end. Why else would the killer risk discovery by moving the body? That was the final touch to make us think he'd followed the lyrics the whole way. Oh. Ooh. Order, order, order. That would explain this most unusual situation. It does. The killer changed the order of events to create himself an alibi. In other words, the killer was someone who had an alibi for the third set, but not the second. Darian. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but sadly, it has. Let me tell you why your little fairy tale makes no sense at all. Oh, it sounds good. I'll give you that. You've given us a reason why the killer bothered following the lyrics of my song. But I question your logic. For it's flawed from the very beginning. Flawed? Yes, a contradiction, Hairforehead. One I've pointed out several times, no less. At the time of the crime, the small window at the scene was closed. How could Lammy have heard a voice through it? Oh. I know that you would like to divert our attention from this critical fact, but you're basing your entire line of reasoning on a false premise. Right. Lemmy's testimony is my entire case. That voice she heard, the shooter's voice. What if she couldn't hear it, Apollo? Look, what do we have? A man saying press the switch. And near the crime scene we have a switch, which acts as a remote trigger for an igniter. And last but not least, Prosecutor Gavin's flaming guitar. It can't all be coincidence, but how do I make it work? I see a more direct line of questioning is required. When the crime scene was investigated, immediately after the crime, that window was closed. Care to tell us how Lammy heard the voice? A key point, to be sure. Mr. Justice, can you explain this to the court? Not really. Okay, Justice, you've got one thing to prove, and one thing only. Lammy heard a voice. And she heard it during the second set. Think. How was Lammy able to hear the voice? She has divine hearing, the window was open, she was somewhere else. I wonder if this will tie into the magic trick. Yeah. When we investigated the scene, the window was closed. The shooter had no reason to close it. Had it been open, either. Meaning it was impossible to hear the voice through that window. Now it's good to hear you making sense again. For a moment I was afraid you might be a Borginian too. As I was saying, Lammy could not hear the voice through that window. So there can only be one explanation. She heard the voice from another location entirely. I like how this song's just come back with a vengeance. What's this? You do amuse me so. And here I thought you and Good Sense were back on speaking terms. Now I'm afraid you and Good Sense speak two entirely different languages. Shall I interpret for you, Hair Forehead? Lammy clearly stated she heard the voice through that small window. And there's only one small window at the scene. Are you sure? Think about it. Isn't there another small window at the scene? There is? Yes, there is. I know that look. He wants us to ask him. Very well. You can't claim Lammy heard the voice from another location. Mr. Justice, show us where this location was. Lammy heard the voice from... here. Actually, could I just do it... I mean, that would work, but there's also these two here. I'm just gonna go with that one. The air vent. This is where Lammy heard that voice from. But that's no small window. That's the air vent. What did she tell us? She said she's a Borginian, unfamiliar with our language. It's not a stretch to imagine she called this air vent a small window. Now you've done it. You've gone beyond ridiculous and into ludicrous. So Lammy was up in the ventilation system listening to this man's voice. That's the only logical explanation, yes. Logical? I do not think this word means what you think it means, Hair Forehead. Okay, what about it isn't logical? Huh, it hardly merits saying. Why would Lammy be in the ventilation system? Hiding like a rat, no offence intended to her, of course. The explanation for that is simple, Prosecutor Gavin. Isn't it, Lammy? You have been listening to our discussion here, yes? Yes. I admit, it's had me quite confused since yesterday. Yes, the small window was closed. But why should that mean I could not hear through it? I feared our prosecutor might himself need an interpreter. The problem here is words. Lammy, the small window through which you heard the voice. Was it up high on the ceiling of the room, not low on a wall? Yes, it was up on the ceiling. What? Oh wow, so we've been just going off of the assumption that it was a actual window. I mean, of course you would. That wouldn't even be in the realm of possibility. I will have order. Oh. Okay, I was about to say what happened. Witness, you will clarify this statement to the court. Are you in fact saying that you were up above the ceiling of the room? And that's where you heard the moment of the crime? Yes, in fact, I was. I'm sorry, I never imagined it would become such an important point. Yes, well, why the heck were you up there? I cannot say. I believe it's time for another testimony. I'm not sure but I can't. May I remind you this is a murder trial? We will hear your testimony. Tell us why you witnessed the crime from above the ceiling of that room. Please. Well, looks like I'm on the right track. I have an idea. So why she's up there, I believe it is because of the magic trick. Above the ceiling. Yes, I was above the ceiling when I heard the voice. I heard there was a small window there before. It was in the middle of my performance. I had no time to report what I had heard. As to why I was there, I cannot say. I am bound to secrecy on this matter. I figured. It is, it's because of the illusion. I can guarantee it. Bound to secrecy. In my line of work, one has many obligations to uphold. But you say you were there in the middle of your performance. So this did happen during the second set. I did not witness the crime, you must understand. I only know what I heard. Yes, but you must tell us what you were doing in detail. That's what the cross-examination is for. Yeah, Hair Forehead? Our mission in this court is to discern the truth. No obligation, no binding pact may hinder that mission. Very well. Mr. Justice, you may begin the cross-examination. What are you going to do, Apollo? I'm going to find out the truth. She was up above that ceiling for a reason. I just have to get it out of her. Well, I kind of know where to begin. But I'm gonna press everything. I also really need a drink. Only downside is, this might be noisy. Because it's in a metal flask. I'll try and open it quietly. So above the ceiling, could you be more specific? I cannot. I've also got ice in this drink, which might make a bit of noise. Oh no, it looks like it's all dissolved.